Welcome to Tentative Title with Tim. This is a podcast about creativity, about process, about filmmaking, and about screenwriting. Welcome everybody back to the podcast. So I hope you had a good Chinese New Year, if that's what you celebrate. I hope you had a good Valentine's Day, if that's also what you celebrate. And now today is President's Day, and so it's really I don't know if it's unusual. I never actually track when these holidays happen, but it just seems like a lot happening in the course of a weekend. But yeah, if you celebrated all of them or none of them or one of them, I hope it was good. And that you got to got to spend some time celebrating something that was relatively normal. So what I really wanted to talk about today is about romantic movies, and this involves rom-coms, obviously, and just any kind of film where there's the driving force is a romance. And I have to admit that growing up, I was a hopeless romantic. I wanted so much to be in a relationship. And these movies that came out during the 90s, the romantic comedies, the romantic dramas, like those were the way in which I could kind of, I guess, play out the scenario of being able to be in a relationship and all the ups and downs that come with it, and to see how things worked between the characters and how they didn't work. Obviously, in a movie, that's not real life. That's not how it's supposed to happen. Of course, these stories kind of draw from real life a little bit. But, looking back at it, at those films, some of them were kind of like, yeah, that's not the way it's supposed to work in real life. You don't actually do this because that would be considered to be kind of creepy, or to be... like a stalker or something like that, So, like, obviously, I didn't take these movies as gospel, but there was this part of me that just could not get enough of watching the films where a man and a woman usually are on their separate trajectories, but they keep like running into one another, and then eventually, like, either there's conflict between the two of them and they still fall in love, or they fall in love and then they break apart because of something down the road. So yeah, I was just drawn to those kinds of films, mostly because it was a wish fulfillment in a way, because in my own life I was single, and I was single for a very, very long time. I was an introvert, very, very shy. It took me a while to actually, I guess, bloom and open up as a person, to be able to talk to the opposite sex, and to be able to feel comfortable with trying to get into a relationship in general. And so there was the time in the 90s when the Nora Ephron romantic films, romantic comedies were prevalent, and they usually had big stars. Like I think about like Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan. They were a couple that an on-screen couple that I love to watch, like, fall in love over and over and over again. But then on the comedy side, there was like Adam Sandler and Drew Barrymore, and watching them fall in love through the comedy lens was also very entertaining and very sweet at the same time. So, but it seems like the idea of romance, of chivalry, of just kind of like this unconditional love. I don't know, like, where we are in terms of a culture, because there's one side of the culture that is very much transactional, and it's like, what do you bring to the table, and I will bring what like, it's like, what do you bring, and I'll bring what I bring, if that makes any sense. But it's more about that, and um, I was kind of I grew up with the kind of the chivalry side of it, where it was like I would try to do all that I could to provide for who I was attracted to, or who I fell in love with, and but that doesn't seem to be the attitude nowadays, and I kind of, it seems like it's in terms of like what we see in pop culture, what we see in films, there's kind of like this divide. There's kind of a there's still some like throwback to those romantic movies of the 90s, but now they're more of a trying to uh, like kind of break it apart a bit, make fun of it, kind of subvert the expectations of the audience, and say, well, we had this couple that we set up was going to be together, but by the end of the film, that's not going to happen anymore. Or, if it's a series, there's multiple people that the main character dates before they actually end up with the person they're supposed to end up with. In a way, it kind of seems more realistic to have that kind of arc in a show, because that's kind of how things can go in real life, where even if somebody if two people are kind of, I guess, quote unquote, meant to be together, sometimes it doesn't actually happen until those two people have gone their separate ways, and realized that what's out there is actually not what they're looking for, but the other person that they didn't quite consider to be the right fit is actually the right fit. And I have friends who have gone through that process of they were kind of like the dating on and off, back in high school or junior high, and then they kind of like went off and did their own thing, and then they ended up coming back together because they realized that the reason why they came together in the first place was the fact that there was something that clicked between them, and they could not find that with anybody else. And that kind of reassures my belief in the whole idea of like romance, and of this cosmic, like, there is like the one person, type of thing. And like even in my own life, like, I believe that my wife is was specifically, like, we match very well, and we have been married for quite a long time, and we still have fun with one another. We still joke around. We still have, we still act like we're friends, and we still act like more than friends, So I have to believe that that kind of relationship still exists, because I'm currently in that kind of relationship. But the coming back to like pop culture and movies and film, it seems like all of that is kind of is not looked upon with the same kind of rose colored glasses. It seems like there's more of a cynicism about relationships and romance, and it's this promotion of like of being alone, of being single is actually the way to go. And I'm not here to say one way or the other, because I do believe that there are some people who thrive on being single, and that is great. But like for someone like me, I was crippled as somebody who was single. Like I needed I needed the other half, so to speak, to bring me out of my shell to actually like become a fully realized like person, or at least to get me to you know, strive to be a better person, to strive to have goals in life, and to want to achieve things. So, but yeah, I know that there are some that there are some films in recent years that um, still hold on to that very sweet romantic, you know, kind of feeling of like two people who are meant to be together, and you know that it doesn't have to necessarily be a man and a woman. Now it's like there are all kinds of uh, LGBTQ, and I forget what the other symbols are that have been added onto it. But you know, there is a variety of content now that is still romance driven. That still you know still promotes the idea of like of chivalry, even if it's you know not a man and a woman, but it's like it's still out there. It's still kind of like prevalent in the culture in some corners. Um, but yeah, I also you know once again see the other side where I'm kind of I'm wondering how uh, the next generation, especially with like my kids, how the pop culture, how they see the stories being told in film and television, if they will have the same kind of drive or the same kind of like perspective on relationships as I did. Like, are they also going to be hopeless romantics? Are they going to you know try to seek out quote unquote the one? And you know it's really impossible to know until you know they reach an age where they're able to like realize those things about what they want in life. But it does seem like a lot of uh, a lot of where we're going is not into relationships, but just like, okay, remain single because that's the way in which you can you know live a fuller life, or the way in which you can remain guarded from being hurt. And that's really sad actually, because you know like you hurt is and in relationships is a part of is a part of it too. You know, it's not only the good stuff, but it's the bad stuff too. So yeah, what kind of coming back once again to Valentine's Day, you know, what kind of films and television did you guys like grow up with? Did that inform your way, the way in which you looked at the world, and what kind of relationships you wanted to have in your own life? You know, was it something that like it built up your expectations about what you wanted in a relationship, and then when you got out and started to like to date and have relationships, like did the whole idea of what was built up on the screen kind of fall apart, because the real world is the real world, and things don't work out the way they do in movies. Or if you're you know writing a script, or if you're directing a film like that is romance based, like are you holding on to the kind of the old ideals of like chivalry in the story, and trying to promote the idea of you know like two people kind of meant to be together, and they kind of do whatever they can to kind of sacrifice for one another, because that's just how strong their love is for one another. Yeah, I you know I kind of want to know what you what you guys think, because you know like I said, I don't see much of it now. Like I see pockets here and there, like I see some stuff on Netflix, But a lot of it is just kind of like talking about like romance and love in a very cynical way, and in a way it's kind of good because it sets it sets the expectation that don't expect like Prince Charming to come in and save you. Don't expect a princess that's gonna love you forever. It's like those kind of like old ideals are not realistic, but they kind of they in a way they were like aspirational. They were like, well, you could have a relationship like this if you try, if you like do these things, you might possibly have the same kind of relationship that you're seeing on screen, even though it's going to take a lot of work. And that's another part of the on screen romances is that sometimes they don't show how hard it is to actually have a relationship, how hard it is to when things are really bad, how to kind of hang in there. So all right, guys, that's all I got for today. I just wanted to kind of speak on the whole Valentine's Day thing, because it's something that has been, I've been thinking about this for a while. I've been wanting to write a romance type of story, because, like I said, it's what I grew up on, and I really love those kinds of stories because I think they kind of reinforce the idea of like, your life in a relationship is ends up not being your own, but you're living for yourself and you're living for the other person. And if you have kids, you're living for them as well. And so it kind of like takes the selfishness, the out of the equation, and reminds you that like love is about self-sacrifice. Love is about trying to do the best you can for the good of the people around you, for your significant other. And I don't know if those ideals are being promoted enough, and it just I don't know. So all right, guys, make sure to wash your hands, social distance. I know it's weird talking about romance and talking about social distancing. That doesn't really go together. And wear the mask, all that good stuff. We'll get through this, and we'll be able to hug one another. And we'll be able to look back and say, wow, that was a weird time. But we don't have to worry as much about this virus. And all right, guys, I'll talk to you in the next one. And also, if you want to connect with me, I have a email for the podcast. It's tentative.title.with.tim.podcast@gmail.com. Also, I have a Twitter account for the podcast where I post episodes, and that is at title_Tim. And you can find also on the Facebook page, I have a page for the podcast, so you can connect with me there. Looking forward to hearing from all of you, and until then, I'll catch you on the next one.